Pantry is a community mutual aid program. We provide free hot meals and grocery care packages to people in our communities.
So it was the same day of the shutdown, which was, I think it was the Friday 13th of March. I was working in the morning, and as soon as I finished my job, they announced that it was going to be a shutdown. I said that let's start doing 4 or 5 meals to people just because it's from my kitchen. I have a roommate.
We were like, maybe we'll cook for 4 or 5 people, and then I'd be like, okay, but maybe 6 or 7, or maybe just 10, or maybe just 15. And so in the first day, maybe we did 8 or 9, but by the end of that first weekend, we got to over 40 people. And the asks were spreading all around the downtown core to Scarborough, across the GTA. And I think over the few weeks that we ended up connecting with people like Jade and Andrea and others, we discovered that other people were already doing much similar work, and that it probably just made sense to consolidate our resources. And so that's where a lot of the founders of the People's Pantry kind of came together and connected.
It's also a mutual aid project that comes from the labor and energy and histories of women, queer, trans, BIPOC activists in Toronto and the GTA. And I think when the pandemic hit, what struck us, what got us to move, was the fact that people we know that we cared about, our peers, our family, our friends, were struggling, and we wanted to do something to support them, to foster care. It was this thing that felt bigger than us that just started getting all this momentum, and we were doing this work, and then all of a sudden we were initiative, and then we started getting, volunteers, and we started getting space, and we started getting all these requests.
When we were getting, 100, 150 requests per week, we realized that it was impossible for us for these 6 people that began cooking or doing things to do it by ourselves. And that's how we started reaching out, created a volunteer intake form so we could get more volunteers and expand our network.
It's grown from the 7 of us to more than 500 volunteers.
Generally, the first step for people is they apply through our online application form, and they either make a request for hot meal deliveries or grocery care packages. They can outline different dietary restrictions or allergies. If they have young kids in their family that might need diapers or toiletries or books, for example, we have all those things. That generally gets passed on to our back-end logistics team and coordinators, who will hook that person up with a chef, or they'll connect them to Yan and I if they're doing grocery care packages, and we get a much better sense of exactly what they're looking for. And once the request is done, we link them up with our delivery volunteers. We work a lot with the Bike Brigade and others who will just sign up for tickets on this delivery sheet, and they'll do no contact drop-offs.
While I've been communicating with requesters and scheduling their deliveries, I've also had a lot of them start conversing with me about their sad stories and their backgrounds from all walks of life. Some stories that have stuck with me were a homeless family with a young child and a disabled father unable to work, a single parent facing cancer surviving exclusively on meager welfare benefits, and an elderly woman who was homebound and suffering from severe cardiac disease and an inoperable hernia. Their willingness to improve their lives to the highest extent possible, despite these seemingly insurmountable barriers, are what gave me immense pride to be assisting my own community during this difficult time.
We log on to a spreadsheet, and that spreadsheet lists requests, and each request has kind of the number of people, and then whether they have any food allergies or preferences, and basically that's all we see. Today we did chili on baked potato and 8 souvlaki dinners, and I also throw in a salad, and then a friend of mine, Andrew from Cutie Pie's Bakery, brings some desserts. The night before, usually I cook one of the main meals. So last night I did the chili as an example, and then on the day of, I'll cook everything else. and then package it all and have it all ready to go by usually 3 p.m. So I say, here's when it'll be ready, and then somebody miraculously shows up here and takes the food away.
Usually the food would be already waiting for me. Sometimes it was food containers, sometimes it was grocery bundles, sometimes it was fresh food, fresh meals. And then I would just get on my bike and go to the first recipient, second recipient, yeah, third recipient sometimes, but usually it was maximum 2.
And then at the end of the day, making sure that all of the deliveries have been confirmed. I think this becomes a lot more complicated on grocery days. I think it's the sheer volume of deliveries. Like on a regular day, maybe you'll have 10, 15, but like on a grocery day, it'll be like...
The most we've had is like 77 maybe, or 78, I think. Yeah, so it's just the sheer volume.
On grocery days, it's getting up early, going to the space. From this morning, I wait for the Costco delivery. Once it gets here, I bring everything into the space. I organize it by areas, so like grains, anything that is like pasta, sauces, cans. And then I started like bagging things, so like the rice, the beans, all the packages are customized. Then after that, like I start like putting like all the vegetables in the bags, and after that, like I just prepare the meat section. So it's like meats, bag the milk, bag the chicken, bag any kind of spinach or any other vegetables that need refrigeration. For me, it was very important to like invest in like local produce and in local farms. That are like working with the food share, because for us it's like if we have the money and we're able to like give it out to like small businesses that are shutting down or like local farms that are doing all this work, that would be like something that is beautiful. And after that is will be like anything that is like flours, sugars, and then I just follow the labels of what the person requested, and then I just put everything in the bundle and then wait until like delivery moment, and then our delivery volunteers that are wonderful just like pick it up and deliver, and that's it.
I really feel like our futures need mutual aid organizations and mutual aid networks, and I love being a part of the trial and errors of figuring that out and seeing how well it's worked in such little amount of time, how people just kind of rely on each other and step in to help each other. I really feel like it's a really secure way for us to have a better future all together, and being a part of it just makes me really confident in that. With everything else going on, being so gloomy and upsetting a lot of the time, being a part of the Pantry is really uplifting, and it makes me really happy.
I've always had a lot of admiration for direct action and activism, but I never felt, I don't know, like I was brave enough to do it myself, but it was still a very important part of my values. And so when the pandemic started, I think I realized that activism didn't have to be perfect. I didn't have to be perfectly squared in terms of like my politics and knowing everything. I just had to do my best and learn when I made a mistake. So getting involved feeds that need to help people in the community and to also feel like I'm able to make an impact.
I do believe in community. I do believe in doing the right thing. I do believe that it's like the power is within us and that everyone has something to bring. So it's not something that like I worked 50 hours yesterday. I don't look forward to waking up this morning at 6:30 a.m. But it's something that like I know that I'm doing it because food is just like such a like important part of ourselves. Emotional well-being for everything is just so needed, and like for me, I just don't think about it twice.
One of the fundamental beliefs that the People's Pantry operates around is the fact that food insecurity is systemic and it's historical. It was augmented by COVID, but it was there before COVID, and it's going to be there long after COVID is over, and the effects will probably be worse because of COVID. And so it's not a COVID-specific project, it's a people-specific project. It's something that we're doing for communities that we care about, and we want to do it as long as we can.
we're not like parachuting in to try to save anyone. Like our cooks, our bakers, our volunteers, many of those people have been on the receiving end of donations of food items and then turned around and have looked for ways to make their communities better, right? So we are people serving our people, right? We're community empowering our own community to be better.
I think grassroots social initiatives are needed, and the only way in which they can be sustainable is when the community is involved, right? When we have people who are interested and are committed to creating equity, into providing access to basic needs to survive, right? Like food, for instance, and like the capacity to communicate one-to-one with someone who can listen to you as well. When those things are done in community, they are much better and more sustainable. The money that we get from donations, all of it goes to finance like the food that we buy, to pay chefs for the food they buy so they can keep cooking, for getting containers, for getting like masks and gloves for our volunteers.
I think it's about how quickly it could be organized and how quickly it mobilized so many people. Informal solutions have this ability of being quick. It's just one person talking to another person coordinating a group of neighbors, family, whoever. So there is this basic trust which shortens the time of reaction and shortens the decision process. It was very personal and intimate because it was also a story, an adventure of how I delivered food to this person that day. So there was no corporate efficiency, but I think as a living system of people working and helping other people, it was very efficient.
What humanized the work that we do, we say like no questions asked when we tell people like you can access the food that we give.
I think it's an ethical responsibility that people who have more resources or some degree of privilege have to mobilize that to support other people, and to support other people out of the belief and the feeling that like it's our goal as living beings, as humans, to make sure life is accessible to everyone and to promote beauty and care among everybody, and whatever that looks like for us and for the people that we're connecting with.
I would like to encourage all who want to volunteer with us or with a local mutual aid group in your area, or to donate money otherwise.